first, though. They're known for their fast cars, private jets, £1,000 bottles of champagne, but what effect have the traders had on the world's economy?
Well, today's papers are saying the traders have caused the HBOS's share price to slump. Ex-City trader Geraint Anderson and financial expert Andrew Oxlade are with us this morning to give their thoughts on who is to blame. We're all looking for someone to blame, and also what should be done to prevent more financial disasters, if anything.
They've got a really fascinating insight. Geraint's got a brilliant book out at the moment which tells you all about it. In fact, we were talking about it before the programme started. He's foreseen all of this. He knew it was going to happen. We'll chat about him and that in a second.
Now, with headlines all this week screaming that the economy is in meltdown, who is to blame? That's the big question.
Geraint Anderson earned bonuses of up to £500,000 as a City trader. He says it's the greed of some City boys gambling on the stock market that's led to the current credit crisis.
Well, he's with us now, along with our financial expert, Andrew Oxlade. Good morning to you both. So, Geraint, you reckon it is the City boys and all their big bonuses that are to blame for the crash that we're all suffering?
Yeah, it's not the size of the bonus that I think is the issue here. I think it's the fact that you do have a bonus culture which just rewards short-term thinking. And that's why merchant bankers across the States and in England as well would actually be very happy to sell these mortgage-backed assets, knowing they'll probably explode in a few years' time when interest rates went up or when the housing bubble burst, but not caring because they're making millions in the near term. And that's what really got my goat, and that's what I've been trying to expose to some extent.
How long did you work in the City as a trader?
12 years. I wasn't actually a trader, I was leading up a team of research analysts covering the ever-exciting utility sector.
But while you were covering the utility sector, whatever that means...
Well, lucrative, that's what it means.
Yes.
Well, yes.
Yes.
So, you know, the bonuses that you're now saying are possibly to blame for the problems we're having now, you were very happy to accept. I mean, what's the biggest bonus you ever earned?
Well, my last bonus was £500,000. And, you know, that's the problem with the City. You're kind of like a bank robber in one of those films who keeps on just staying on to do one last job. I went in with just wanting to do 5 years. I had a target of earning £300,000 and then do something what I really wanted to do. What I really wanted to do? That I really wanted to do. Sorry. Of course, they suck you in there by paying you more and more each year, and you just kind of think, well, I might as well stay. And then before you know it, you're divorced with 3 sort of ex-wives and all that.
Did you think, though, when you were doing it, did your mind ever stretch beyond the deals that you were doing to a possible eventual outcome?
In terms of, for my personal situation, or in terms of...
The world.
The world. I always did tend to sort of pull myself back and think, you know, are you part of a system that is actually just helping to make society more and more greedy, more and more money-obsessed, more and more potentially violent as the difference between the haves and the have-nots increases? I was also thinking I was part of a system which ultimately is leading to this world becoming, you know, one of pollution and global warming and so forth, and that always played on me. And when I did the column for the London paper, I think my guilt was very, very apparent there.
Well, yes, I mean, we'll explain that that you became a sort of a anonymous whistleblower, and you were writing your column and giving everyone a very clear insight into what was going on in the City. How do the City take to whistleblowers?
They hate them with a passion. I'm perceived as having broken what's called a kind of code of silence. I've actually had ex-peers and ex-colleagues and ex-clients who I thought I got on quite well with say to me, you know what, mate, you've actually just released some kind of information that we don't think is, some say the pond life out there shouldn't actually be privy to.
That's us.
That's us.
Basically everyone else, yeah, you don't own £500,000 bonuses. And I'm thinking, the other thing they say is, you've bitten the hand that fed you. And I'm like, yes, it deserved to be bitten, frankly. And, you know, I'm really pleased that I've written the first book, I think, for 20 years. The last one was Liar's Poker in 1989, so 19 years, exposing, I think, the way that this city has become a Wild West casino, where people are just gambling vast amounts of other people's money.
But isn't that just how the City works? I mean, it's only recently, since this has all been in the press, that we've even started thinking about it. Most of us, you know, put our money in the bank and we presume it's safe. And we rely on people in the City to play the game. It's like a big game of Monopoly. They make the profits and we reap the benefits. And when it crashes, we have to go with the crash. And there has to be, surely, a competitive nature within all those traders. And bonuses, surely, are a great incentive to keep people focused, to keep them at the top of their game, which is what we want, really.
I don't mind competitiveness. I've got a real bugbear with people who do insider trading, and that is rife. And in fact, that's not my words. That's the former head of the Financial Service Authority, the financial regulator, John Tyner, said that, and his successor said the same. I also have a real problem with the spreading of false rumours, which actually helps destabilise the financial system. So what you do is you say HBOS is going to go bust. Just before that, you've shorted the shares. You've sold shares you don't own, so you benefit from the share price decline. And by doing that, you might make a fast buck. The shares went 17% down in 3 hours about 4 or 5 months ago. And you know, if you've done shorted 10 million shares, you just made 1.7 million quid like that. But you're also helping to destabilise the financial system, which is helping to actually lead us into a recession where we might have 2.5, 3 million people unemployed in a year or two's time, lives being wrecked, businesses being destroyed, jobs being lost.
So are they SPIV traders?
Yeah, I mean, basically, as I say, the bonus culture creates short-term thinking. SPIV, to me, is just someone who's going to think short-term, speculative, not care about the consequences. And I think the real culprits, to be honest with you, with the credit crunch are those guys who gave mortgages to Americans who couldn't afford them by conning them with 2 or 3 year fixed deals. Let's say, it's only going to cost $300, mate. Well, they probably wouldn't say mate, they'd say dude. And then they say, you know, but in fact, it'd be $1,000 a month in 2 years' time, and then suddenly those explode like that. The other people are those, I say, those bankers who wrapped those loans up with slightly better ones and sold them on, knowing they'd explode.
What were the worst excesses you saw?
I was involved in most of them. I went on a kind of nice big 5-day bender to Vegas. I went on a big 5-day knees up to Miami. I've taken people out for meals for £1,000, £2,000. I've also, not myself, I've been dragged kicking and screaming, of course, to strip joints. I mean, I'll tell you, the one people who are most losing out from the current problems we're going to have with bonuses, because they will be down about 40% this year, I think, will be strip joints across London, because those are frequented by Cityboys. Those are the real losers.
And the sale
here.
of 30-gram bottles of wine.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that was Petrus. Yeah, I never bought a 30-gram bottle of wine. I think my bank's expense accounts wouldn't quite stretch to that. But I asked the waiter, "Do these ever actually get bought?" And he went, "Yes." And you know what? Sometimes they leave some. I said, "Next time they leave some, give us a bell. I'll be over." I think we've got a recession that's going to be longer and deeper than anyone thinks. And I think that when you ask what it means to people, it means your job is less secure. You're going to have less cash. If you're work in a bar or a restaurant, you're going to get lower tips. If you've got a house, your house price is probably going to fall about 20–25%. These are all my forecasts. I wouldn't take them with a big pinch of salt. You know, I hate making forecasts, particularly about the future.
Will the city still be taking their bonuses?
No, I mean, I think bonuses will be down about 40% this year, and I think well, some people might not be crying too much about this when there are kids starving in Africa and stuff like that, but the fact of the matter is that if you've had just so many people lose their jobs, those nasty bosses in the city will pay as little as they can get away with. And if they know there's loads of people on the job market looking for a job, and they know that there are much fewer banks willing to employ them, then suddenly they're in the bargaining position. And when you go and do the usual trick on bonus day where you say, "I'm very dissatisfied with that, I'm going to look for another job," they go, "Yeah, give it a bash, mate."
There's Geraint's book. It's Cityboy, Beer and Loathing in the Square Mile. And thank you very much indeed for coming in today. And thanks again, Andrew.
See you again. See you,
Hold
Andrew.
tight.